showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Brian Little.
All right. Hey, man, listen. Man, yo, guys, I'm late. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm late. I'm late to the party. Usually I'm fashionably late to parties and such and events and things like that. I'm fashionably late with my show. I do apologize for being late. But you know what? I say I'm going to do this show every Wednesday. I think I might change that every Wednesday to like every week. But because something always seems to come up where I can't really get that show in. They say when I early on, they was talking about, doing podcasts, they were saying, well, you want to stick to it because the people that listen to you expect you to be on having your show every Wednesday or whatever day that you pick, and that's just one of those rules that hosts need to follow, and to have to keep a relationship with their listeners. And well, I try, folks. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying. I'm being real. I got a whole lot of things going on in my life, and I'm trying to make it. And lately, oh my God, it is what it is. I'm gonna try to make it. Let's put it like this. I'm gonna try to put this in and do you guys right and put one in every Wednesday. But if I don't make it, please don't hate me, man. Please don't hate me. I will get a show in every week. And I know I do want to keep that for me. I do want to keep that schedule every Wednesday. But if something happens, I can't. It is what it is. But I will get in a show, and I'm here. I'm glad that I'm doing this show. I'm healthy. I'm feeling good. The sun is shining. The skies are blue. Even when they're gray, the sun still shines. So, I'm loving life. I'm doing all right. How has your week been? Everybody that's out there, how has your week? Was it glorious? Was it bad? Are you going through a transitional phase? Are you coming out of some sort of a dead zone in your life? Are you trying to reorganize it? Man, I'm here for you. I am supporting you all the way 110% because I'm right there with you running that same marathon in life. You know what I mean? I just want to say I love you guys. I love everybody that listens to the show. I truly appreciate it. I see. Thank you. I shout out each and every one of y'all that listens to the show. Everybody that listens to the show, thank you. Yeah, man. So I guess I got a lot of things to go on because I want to order dinner. I'm not gonna make any dinner tonight. I'm not gonna have it. Order some pizza. I really have to watch my diet, as everybody knows. I've been eating fruits and vegetables, and it's great. I had a sandwich earlier today because I was just feeling hungry. So when I usually have like things I shouldn't have, like white bread, I went to like Panera Bread. I was just hungry, and I don't really eat white bread, but I was feeling something. I was like, why not, right? So when I usually have that going on for the day or have it for lunch, I try to change that and have something different, a little bit healthier, like a salad or something like that. I probably might have a chicken salad tonight. Who knows? And just kind of like balance it out. It's all about moderation. It's all about really having, making personal choices to have balance when it comes to eating. So yeah, I'm going to definitely do that and have balance tonight. All right. So let's get it going, guys. I got a show. I want to keep this thing rocking and rolling. Yes, I'm your host, Nova Phoenix of GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio. And let's just get with the first topic of the show. Happy belated birthday to hip hop. I love you so much. Of course, It was born on August 11th, 1973, right in the heart of New York City, right here in the Bronx, man, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, where it has become a beautiful global force that we all see and feel and enjoy, bouncing to the rhythms of every corner of the earth where hip-hop is being played. Yes, happy belated birthday to you, hip-hop. How you guys, how this music art form came out on 1520 Sedgwick Avenue by DJ Kool Herc when he was put two records together and then came out with beautiful music. And shout out to all you know what, please people, please. You know, the thing that, oh my God, I guess I'm gonna get into it, you know, a little bit later in the show, and I'll touch on it, but oh my God, this conversation about hip hop all the time, man, the history of hip hop. I mean, we're not talking about ancient Kemet. We're not talking about Rome or Greece, or we're talking about Bible, you know, verse and chapter. We're not talking about this. So when we're talking about hip hop and where hip hop came from, and I'm specifically saying this to those that have some words as far as this FBA conversation. I have to say, you know what I'm talking about, this FBA conversation. Talking about, you know, Jamaicans, they're railing against Caribbean people or Jamaicans, saying that y'all didn't create hip hop. Nobody said Jamaican people created hip hop. It was sparked by a man who happened to be Jamaican and threw two turntables together. And if it's so be those two turntables came together because of something came out of the streets of Jamaica, it doesn't mean that Jamaica created hip hop. It was just something that happened in the moment through Black American music and this dude, DJ Kool Herc, that just wanted to do a party and get the crowd going. And you know, it's just what it is. And I just think hip hop is an amalgamation, is a fusion of all inspired spirits of Black folk that, you know, came from different corners of this earth, or different places or locations of this earth. And it's just what it is now today. Because hip hop is a whole. There's a whole crowd of people that are generational Black folk, Caribbean people, people that come from the continent of Africa, and they're all a part of the art form. Yeah, anyway, the point is, like, people are actually getting into petty conversations about the birth of hip hop. And I'm like, we don't have to go way back in the day. The man who sparked hip hop is alive today. Today, folks. Today. Listen. We need to stop with this petty bickering on social media and just accept it for what it is. I mean, you don't even have to look at the documentaries. Ask the man. He's chilling somewhere in the United States of America, if he's still here. I don't know the whereabouts of DJ Kool Herc. He's alive, man. Oh my God. And then somebody, you know, it was Chuck Creekmer, the owner of allhiphop.com. He shouted out, you know, the birth of hip hop and showing love. And, you know, there was some idiot that had some stupid, and that's social media, man. You know, social media is great when you can speak to so many people, like I said on the show before, but you know, the problem with social media is the fact that there's so many people throwing in their opinion. I'm like, anyway. Oh my God, why are we having this conversation? It is so stupid. Anyway, happy belated birthday to hip hop. Shout out to hip hop. All right. Yeah, let me tell you, man, and a lot, even in I love hip hop, but I also can't critique it. There's a lot of trash music out there right now on the radio. Yo, there is some there is some trash music. I'm in the car and I turn on the radio. I want to see what's pumping, or I listen to Hot 97. I listen to Power 105. I listen to everything. Z100, Power 107.5. I listen to all of it. Let me tell you something. Oh my God, there's so much trash music. These record companies, everybody knows is pay for play. It's not scandals anymore. That story came out many moons ago, and it's still happening today. And these record companies are signing anybody. They are literally signing everybody or anyone. And especially they'll sign somebody that's already in the industry, and they're not gonna contest some of the people that has established themselves in hip hop music, and they're just gonna believe them. Hey, listen, I got this artist. Yo, there's a lot of. I'm not knocking it, not because I'm an OG. I'm just saying, I'm listening to this song, and I'm like, why? How is this on the radio? How? And then the in stereo, radio and stereo. When I say radio and stereo, is when you hear it in both ears, right? And in this instance, radio and stereo, where you could go to Power 105, hear that song, and you go to Hot 97, and it's the same song a few seconds behind. I'm like, yo, the machine at work. There's a lot of trash music. And DJ Pete Rock, shout out to DJ Pete Rock. He actually shared DMC from Run DMC, Daryl McDaniels, and talking about how we can improve hip hop. And we need more Kendricks and J. Cole's, and we're not saying it should be only the J. Cole's and the Kendricks, but there's got to be balance. Where the OGs always talk about there needs to be balance, and there's no balance. There's a lot of sometimes I think it's intentional. I really do. Some of these record labels don't want hip hop to be what it is today. They hate the fact that hip hop is the global force that it is today. That every corner of this earth, of this rock flying through space, plays hip hop music. It's everywhere. They hate it. Some people hate it. They're like, God damn. It kind of reminds me of what's that name? What's that fool name? The white dude that does hip hop music. What's his name? Let me see here. Let me see, man. And he said some suspect thing, and I'm like, huh? White rapper hip hop. I'm gonna tell you right now. He said, let me see, white rappers list. His name, and I like him. He does a lot of dope songs, man. Put it like this: I like his music. He knows how to put together music. I don't have a problem. But when he said Post Malone, that's him. Post Malone said some time ago that hip hop doesn't have feeling or passion or whatever BS that he was talking about. He was like, what? All the loves of hip hop, everybody that stand for the culture was like, what? My man was talking out the side of his mouth. He was like, there's no feeling in hip hop. What it sounded like more to me was, I don't really like hip hop, and I think it's trash, but because it's the powerhouse that it is today, and it's the only way to make money music to be on the radio 24/7, I'm just gonna throw this little ditty together with a hip-hop beat, and I'm gonna make this money. I'm gonna grab the bag. That's what Post Malone said. That's essentially what he said when he was like, there's no feeling in hip-hop, there's no artist with feeling. I'm like, who the fuck? But besides that, a lot of music is trash. And we need to get hip hop back on the rails, man. We need to get it back where it needs to be, man. You can have all these other artists out there, but we really need to grab the reins of hip hop and pull it back on the path, man. There's a lot of trash, man. I'm telling you, I don't want to say the names because I don't want to make it be a big deal. I'm not gonna, call out people. No, let's just say there was a particular rapper that I heard on a record that just dropped from another rapper, and I'm like, how did this guy get on this record? This artist, this dude that I deeply love. I got love for this brother because he's carrying the baton right now for hip hop. And the world loves him. He's a forward thinker in everything that he does. He just dropped his album, and I'm surprised he had this other rapper on his album. I'm like, how did he get on? How did this meeting happen? How did y'all get to talking and got to the point where it's like, yeah, man, come on my record. I'm like, on my album. What? Oh man. Anyway, so I knew that was going to put the battery in the back of the industry, and they were going to start playing his music. I was like, man, just give it a couple of weeks, man. This dude's album is going to spin. They're going to play the single with him on it, and they're not going to start playing this other rapper that I don't like, and they're going to start like officialize it. And here we go. So said, so done. They kept playing this dude's music. I'm like, what is the fascination? Anyway. Hip hop, please get back on track, man. We need more, and a lot of it is because, and not just that. Let me segue. Let me take a left here. There are rappers out there that are not signed to record labels, mad nice. They are making careers without getting any radio play. any of them. Snow the Product is one particular rapper. She's Mexican American. She kills it when it comes to doing her live shows. She does not need radio. Radio does not play a single bar of Snow the Product. I've never heard Snow the Product on any radio station, and that's because of the pay for play. They're not going to play any artists, or the radio for that matter is not going to play any artists that are not signed to major labels. And of course, that's the bullshit. And that's the quote unquote game you have to play. But I give mad respect to Snow the Product. She's mad nice. She raps in English and in Spanish, and most of that thing in Spanish, lady. And she don't give a fuck. She's like, yo, listen, I got my corner. I got my fan base. I'm living well. I don't need to get radio play. And it's just not Snow the Product, but a lot of other independent rappers out there that don't get play, man. I think the only rapper that gets play is Chance the Rapper. He's independent, and it worked out for him, but they don't play a lot of independent. Rightfully so when it comes to how the system works itself. As we understand the rules, you got to be signed to a record label. You got to sign a bullshit deal. Then you'll get on the radio. You'll feel super special, but you're really getting jerked because your contract is half-ass. You feel that you're supposed to be getting money. You find out you can't get money. You sign a bullshit 360 deal because not only are they stripping the points away from what you should get from every quote-unquote album sold, but now they're dipping in on your live music. Now you have music streaming coming in. They give you piddly winks of the pennies when it comes to per stream. So then you get mad because you're not really getting money as you should, and they're just squeezing every little piece of drop of blood out of you, and they're making the millions while you're just making nothing, and you just sitting there mad because you're not listening. So anyway, that's why rappers don't get played on the radio, because they're not going along with the story, and they know, the industry knows that the game has changed and artists no longer have to sign with major labels. They could do it independently, especially with non-fungible tokens, NFTs, with Snoop Dogg promoting it. Now they can even sell their music through the whole NFT market. The industry does not know how to handle this. All right. They do not know how to handle this. They're upset. I think to the point where they're upset where they're intentionally signing trash rappers and saying, you know what, I'm going to screw up hip hop and I'm going to put this trash rapper on, and we're going to think that he's a number 1 artist. And all they're doing is sabotaging the art form so people could walk away from it because of this. I don't know how it's trash music on the radio, man. It's so bad. I think I went to Def Jam a long time ago when I was hardcore in music doing my thing, and I ended up at Def Jam. I was in the A&R department. I forgot it was back in the 90s, and they were going through records like socks. I wouldn't say socks. I can't even give a good analogy. They would take a bunch of loose leaf paper and just make it rain, just blank, and that's what it was, man. They were making it rain shitty music right into the wastebasket. They would play like literally 5 seconds of a record. If you couldn't catch that A&R rep or his assistant within that first 5 seconds, your CD or your tape was going right in the trash. They didn't have time because they were inundated with music. They didn't have time to really feel it out. They're like, okay, put that in, play it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, put it trash. Like they're not looking at EPKs. They're not looking at any of the marketing aspect. They just want to hear the music. Once the music catches them, then they'll take the time to start going through the EPK electronic press kit, seeing what this artist is about, their bio, where they're coming from, what borough, what state, whatever. But now that doesn't exist. So you have rappers that are straight making like bullshit music off of people, and they're getting all this bogus attention because they're doing some wild craziness, and they get signed, or they get signed from an artist that, you know, they hit the casino. They came out with a song and that song was hot, and now that they've been quote unquote established within the music industry, now record labels will be like, yo, you got anybody? And that's even suspect. And because there's literally no A&R department, there's no artist development, artists are just throwing music out there, and that's how you get trash music on the radio. And then you have that quote unquote established artist saying, yo, that's my artist, they the business, yo, go buy their stuff. And some people will buy it, but a lot of people be like, nah, that's trash, bro. That's trash. So man, it's terrible. But anyway, This other thing I was reading out of allhiphop.com, speaking of allhiphop.com, the Philly DA is going after rappers with the use of the RICO charges. RICO, the same RICO charges that he used against Young Thug and Gunna. They got caught up in Atlanta. And now the Philly DA, district attorney, is going after a group called Zoo Gang, YBC 0-4 or 0-4, whatever that is, PNB. And, you know, I've never heard of these dudes before. Never heard of them before. I'm like, you know, that's where I come in and being an old fart. I ain't never heard of any of these groups that they're starting careers. But the Philly DA is now using RICO. Now, have you ever heard this used in any other music genre? Not necessarily. They're not using this in bluegrass. They're not using it in the pop music. But of course, hip hop. Of course, the criminalization of hip hop. And I just want the youth to know, wake the hell up. Stop talking crazy on your records. I know that's music and you're just trying to take a story from your boy that lived that life. But even if you did live that life, now you have the system coming after you. And they're listening to your lyrics and they want to use it against you. Right now, you have a legal standing to say, well, you can't use my music against me. That's just like, you know, what's his name? The Man in Black, Johnny Cash. He said a lot of crazy stuff. You're going to arrest Johnny Cash? Oh, of course, Johnny Cash is not here anymore. He was back in the days, several decades old, his music when it was hot. But yeah, Johnny Cash was talking crazy, and you can find a lot of artists that were talking crazy. We're gonna use it against him. We're gonna lock him up. Is Jared Leto, 30 Seconds to Mars, gonna say some crazy whacked out thing on the song, and all of a sudden the government's gonna come after Jared Leto saying, I don't know, I think you're trying to set up killing people, Jared, so we're gonna arrest you. No, that's not happening, man. But I'm trying to tell you to look out for yourself, man. Stop talking reckless on record. Maybe there needs to be a shift. All right. Maybe there needs to be a shift because you don't need that attention. We're here to make money. We're here to make music, do the things that we love. We're here to travel the world and make it a better place, not just for you and your family, but the people that are around you that come from your community, right? Isn't that right? Okay. All right. Now you're with me? You're with me on that? Let's make a change. Angela Yee. Let me sit up right. Let me fix my chair. So yeah, Angela Yee made that announcement last week that she's leaving Power 105 when they just started saying, you know, they were teasing the public saying that, oh my God, Power 105, The Breakfast Club will never be the same. Yes, it's never going to be the same. Angela Yee is on her way out. And I give props to Angela Yee. Let me see that right. Sorry. I'm a little dry. I could drink some water, but it's all right. I'm going to push through. Angela Yee is going to have her own show. It's going to come on right after. It's going to be syndicated. Come on right after the breakfast. See what I'm saying? The Breakfast Club at 10 a.m. I don't even know the name of her show, but big ups to Angela Yee. This thing was in the works for a couple of years now. COVID kind of like derailed that, threw it off the tracks, and but now everything is coming back into order, and she's going to have her own show after the Breakfast Club at 10 a.m. in the last hour. And she's also going to continue promoting her Lip Service podcast that's also on the platform. So big ups to Angela Yee. Hopefully, I'm looking forward for her to doing something different. Who knows if they're going to replace Angela Yee with someone else, a younger voice. And I think it would be good to have a younger voice because that's just hip hop right now. Of course, the youth are taking that baton, and probably another female that's probably in her 18, 19, 20, 21. Maybe they could do a contest on see who's going to be the new host of the Breakfast Club. That's going to be with Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy. So, but big ups to Angela Yee for doing her thing on the Breakfast Club. All right, next, Caroline Wanga. Caroline Wanga, she is the CEO of Essence, and I'm upset, and this is what I was going to talk about. I'm upset. I'm not going to front. I'm upset. I saw a little clip that on social media. I think it was on Twitter. Caroline Wanga, and you can actually look up everything about Caroline Wanga on The Breakfast Club. Actually, she before the Essence Fest, she did an interview with the crew there, and she was talking about Essence Fest and everything, and black empowerment and black people here in this country and the world over. And she was telling her story. I was truly impressed with what Miss Wanga was saying, and I actually shouted her out on social media and bigging her up. And I love what Caroline Wanga is about. But this is the thing. So now that this this movement is really spilling out and building up and bubbling up, and all the people on social media, everybody has something to say on social media, especially Twitter. So you have a lot of people that are toxic and really getting into this. And you know what? Like I said, I don't have a problem you labeling yourself FBA, but it's the toxicity on how you are singling out people because of their ethnicity. So this woman she said that she was talking with her I guess her business partner at the time, and she was unsure if she should put on there if she's Kenyan born, because she didn't want to face the backlash because of this whole FBA thing. And I'm looking at there with my fingers on my cheek, just resting my cheek on my palm, and I'm like, look at this bullshit. Look at what this woman has to say publicly. I believe it was at Espionage Fest that she said this, that this thing is taking such a turn where this woman that's for the culture, for Essence Fest, for the upliftment and empowerment of black people. Now, does that mean that every single thing that's released or put out, in essence, it's going to be in good taste? No, there's going to be a lot of writers that's going to say some suspect things. But that comes with the program. Nobody's ever going to do or run a business based on every single thought of the people that they put out their online publication to, even before when it was just magazines. That's just not how it works, man. There's a bunch of people that work in this company, and they're all going to do different things, and you have people in mid-level management are going to release questionable things, and that's just what it is. And it's up to you as a writer to say, hey, I don't appreciate what was put out in this issue on this month, and you guys should retract that. You have every right to say that as a reader of Essence, right? But to see this woman and what really got down deep and just pissed me off and just boiling my blood, that this woman was actually coming to tears explaining this what she was trying to do or what she didn't want to do. I'm like, here is where the toxicity has gotten to the point where you are othering other people for no apparent reason, just for the fact that she wasn't born here. Really? And I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was happening. Listen, if you want to point out the coons that are on radio or any medium, that's fine. I understand we've been calling out coons for a long time here in America, right? Been calling out coons. But we live on an international platform, and a lot of other people are coming here, and they may come with their own ideologies or viewpoints that don't necessarily come to code to black culture here in America. And it's questionable. And I'm like, I'm saying pointing out, no question. You always got to get people in line when they do things that are going to undermine black culture or black folks here in this country, because we deal with enough already. You don't need another person to add into the box. So I get that out when you single out that person and be like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about, right? I don't have a problem with that. The problem that I have is when you alienate those that has nothing to do with the bullshit, questionable coolness that some people do, some sellouts say in order to get the bag in this country. You just, instead of just being surgical with it, you just pointing out everybody. And I've seen that talk develop in these spaces in Twitter, and they say, well, where are you born, in order to invalidate them or feel like what they're saying should not be said in a public forum. And then you shut them down. And it's gotten so toxic to the point where now you're alienating straight up. You don't want to hear what they got to say, even if they align to what you're saying or what's going on in this country. You still be like, well, where you from? That's the bullshit question that I hear. Well, where you from? And then when they say, well, I'm not from here, and they all automatically try to shut them down. That is the toxicity that I'm speaking of, because there are people that ride for black folks in general in this country. And there's a lot of, to me, there's some certain bots. A lot to me, they're questionable backgrounds. They could be agents. I spoke about it in spaces. Could be COINTELPRO, where they actually will put out bad information to pit people, one group of person against another. And I see there are a lot of people in the movement. There are a lot of people that fight for the human rights, the civil rights, and just to fight for justice for black people in this country and around the world that don't want to get pulled into this back and forth argument. And I know why, because when people fully understand what COINTELPRO did to black power movements, to a lot of organizations back in the day, they intentionally sent letters to specific people within organizations to think that this one person said something slanderous or something terrible about another person in order to splinter and break up this organization, to stop them in their tracks from what they're trying to do. And if they did find some information, some nuggets, they used it against them if it so happened to be true, because we're all human. We do make mistakes and they happen. But your enemy will play that against, will take that and play that against the masses or other people. So in order to slow up or stop the traction that you're building with the movement that you're trying to get out to the people, to change something that's happening in this society. And I'm telling people, be aware of that. All right, you want to say certain things when you get into these spaces and you're talking to 1,000 people in a Twitter space and you're saying things. Be aware that there are possible others out there that wants to stir up trouble. But no, that doesn't happen, because when you create this mob mentality, there is no rhyme or reason to what the mob does. They're just basing all of their actions and their words on emotion. And when you can trigger people into an emotional state on something that makes them upset, they're not thinking and they strike out. And it goes from, it becomes almost like a virus, and it spreads to 2, to 10, to 20, to 1,000, to 10,000, to 100,000. Now you have a small group of people that stand by this FBA movement, rightfully so. You have a right to that. But then there's certain toxic behavior that even if I was within that group, I would say, listen, we got to stop this, because this does nothing for us. We can't have people just cursing out, wanting to fight others on Twitter Spaces, because it makes the movement look bad. But you don't have that coming from anybody, and I say specifically Tariq Nasheed, because he's the pseudo leader of the FBA movement. This brother's not stupid. He's not stupid at all. But that's what even upsets me even more, because he can't even say, hey, you know what? I have to be more responsible with this thing that's building. Even that I coined the phrase, yeah, I'm not the leader of this group, so to say. When you friggin' incorporated, what do you call it? You trademark the phrase and everything like that. You have a website. You are the de facto leader of the movement, man. That you can't say, you know what? Nah, we're not going to go there. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not what we're about. We're trying to straighten some things out for black people that have been here generationally. I would respect that, and I'm all for that. But no, it turns into this. It turns into what the social media thing is, the trolling, and it's more about the theatrics and the spin and the circus. It's more about that than actually having productive conversations about trying to root out the issues of what we're going through as a people in this country and what's happening throughout the world, dealing with white supremacy, systemic racism, how we're all affected by it regardless of where we come from. But now it's more like you're swinging bats in a crystal shop, and you're not really caring who you hit, what's the collateral damage. What you're trying to do is stir up attention towards yourself so you can make the bag. And I'm sorry, that's how I see it. So you can make the bag, because there's no rhyme or reason. There's no strategy. There's no point by point play on how you want to establish yourself as the lineage that you, and like I said, I can dig it, especially when it comes to reparations. I can dig it. But it's getting out of hand to the point where Caroline Wanga, she came up in the culture, and she represents the culture, and she speaks for the culture, especially how she was breaking down Essence Fest. I thought it was beautiful where she was coming from. Now to the point where this woman is feeling inadequate because of this growing hate that's happening in this country when it comes amongst black people, and it's counterproductive. As I always say, how does it free black people? And once you establish yourself as FBA, and okay, you're Nigerian, okay, you're you're Bayesian, okay, you're Trini, okay, you're all of these things. Okay, now what? Now what? How does it free us as a people? Where do we go from there? Okay, now that's established. Okay, everybody knows. Now what? How does it free us? Because we're still dealing with racism regardless of where you come from. So now when you use this thing, people's ethnicity, as a means to invalidate them, or they'd have nothing of worthy to contribute to the conversation, you're already on the wrong road. Your first step is already going in a way towards a path that you cannot salvage it. And all it will do is bring chaos and conflict. Point out and be surgical with the people that are against the culture and the movement. I get that. Point them out. We know people are smart. But when you say all of these people, you're being no different for even the white folks that say, man, all black people are criminals. But what about Chicago? What about these gangs in Chicago? Well, I mean, all those, and you know how black people are. You know, Jesus, East Coast, they're braids, and we got to make it illegal because all these black people. You're no different from the actual racism that's affecting your communities and your families. Understand what I'm saying? It's almost like McCarthyism back that happened in U.S. politics in the 1950s. That's why it's important to understand history. After World War II, when the increasing tensions was building between the U.S. and the Russians, you had a senator named John McCarthy that accused and targeted quote unquote, left-leaning politicians and artists for being communist or agents for the Soviets. There was a whole smear campaign that was created to destroy careers of these targeted people. And it was actually a committee. It was called the House Un-American Activities Committee. It was an investigative committee that McCarthy loosely used in order to sully the names of these very people. Now, it eventually dissolved, though. Like in 1959, even President Truman was saying, he came out publicly saying it was trash. He was like, this is un-American. But it was used at that point. Even this committee was born, I think, in the 1920s or something like that, but lasted through up to 1959. But at the heart of it, at its apex, Senator McCarthy was like pointing out people that were possible agents, quote unquote agents. And you know who some of those people were? I'll tell you, there was a list actually. I was trying to look for it. Some of the people that were accused. They were directors, especially in the artist community. They were directors, radio commentators, actors, screenwriters, everybody. I mean, they were actually were going to boycott the studios. They were quote unquote blacklisted. I hate using that term, but they were blacklisted. Someone was Charlie Chaplin, Orson Welles, Alan Lomax, Paul Robeson. Everybody knows the famous interview when he went up to Congress talking about everything what black people go through and what he's going through, and we'll look it up, YouTube it. And Yip Harburg. All right, so those are the few people that were chosen or targeted, by this committee and by John McCarthy to say they were un-American and to destroy their careers. Right? Oh, matter of fact, this is another thing what happened to even the Jews at the time. So you know what Germans did when they were trying to locate Jews to see if they were quote unquote Jewish? You know what foolish thing they did? They measured the noses of the people, and if it was a certain length or whatever measurement, they were considered Jews and they got sent to the gulag. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? This exactly sounds like what this whole thing is stirring up to be amongst our own people. And it's low level, it's low thinking, it's counterproductive, it gets us nowhere. All you have is conflict and infighting, and it is totally useless. All for the bag. And why did I say all for the bag? Because I know this dude, I see him. Everybody watches this dude. And I see where he came from. And I know the documentaries that did. I'm telling you, the people that he picked for the documentary to talk about issues dealing with black folks and the missing history that are not told in history books, those very people are Pan-Africanists that support African people on throughout the diaspora for the freedom and encouragement and for the thriving of African people in spite of all the shit that's happening. Understand what I'm saying? And they're not saying anything. They're not saying anything at all because they understand history. They don't want to be caught in a conversation that could be used against them and against Tariq and all that. So they're very quiet because I know. And they're probably saying in closed doors with cameras off, what is this dude doing? That's not what was being talked about when he invited me on his documentary series, Hidden Figures. That's not what is this dude doing? I know that's what they're thinking. So, it's upsetting. It is upsetting that this Caroline Wang had to go through that. That really boiled my blood. Anyway. Yeah, so Trump and the FBI. Yeah. Yeah, man. Everybody knows at this point that, Trump is, why did he, oh man, there's no questions that I can ask the public out there that could really make sense of this circus that's happening. This man's been doing it since the very beginning of his first business, right? When his pops gave him money to start his business. This man's been getting away with bloody murder for decades. And because he has been getting away with bloody murder for decades, he's just been paying people off and closing the doors and making deals and then spending his money and then getting more money from certain banks. Even when he was broke, even when he was filing for bankruptcy, he has been getting away with bloody murder. And this is just an indication. Everything that you see today is basically all the decades that he's been getting away with shit constantly. And it's come out in that behavior. Because when you keep on getting away with shit, you say to yourself, oh, snap, I really got away with that. And there's probably some things he thought he was going to get caught for and still played that game and got away with it. And now you have the monster you see before you. Because he's always gotten away with it. So now A.G. Garland has put the warrant together. The judge, I forgot the name of the judge, signed the warrant to do a search of Mar-a-Lago, and came out with documents. And then Trump said, "Wait a second, you can't do that to me." And he, of course, he's blowing up Garland, and he was like A.G. Garland, and Garland came out later. It was like, oh, hey, all right. And Trump could have came out anytime because he has a copy of the warrant. He could have dropped it anytime, but he didn't because he's more about the look, the optics, the theatrics. That's what Trump is about. He had a copy. He could have released it. He could have let the people know what the search for was in home. And it was about removal or destruction of records, obstruction of justice, and violating the Espionage Act. Why the hell did he have top secret files in Mar-a-Lago? And who's the leak? I personally think it was either the family or the Secret Service that has to be security for him, even post-presidential run, or being in that presidential seat. I think it's for life, I think. So you never know who ratted Trump out. I personally think it's one of the family members. Ivana, I think their mother. Funny, Ivana was buried on the golf course. And I thought that was fake. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, nah, this has got to be some kind of a Twitter. Let me wipe my eyes. Let me reread what I saw. That can't possibly be. Ivana was buried at Ivana Trump. Let me just see if I'm getting her name right. Ivana Trump was buried on Trump's golf course. Why was she buried? And it was so it wasn't like she got like a grand, like a huge, what do you call those cemetery houses you walk in and the coffin is in there. It's these huge, you've seen it. Watch any vampire movie, right? And there in the cemetery, you see those huge, made out of marble. Beautiful, very beautiful, right? People that have money build it. No, it was just a grave, I think a small headstone in the corner somewhere of the golf course. Now I laugh, it's sad, but I laugh because the absurdity and craziness and the debauchery and the base there's no words that I could put together to truly describe the craziness. And I say this every time when I'm trying to get the right adjectives together. There are no words that I could put together that can truly describe the utter demonic behavior of this man that lived so long. He put the mother of his children in a corner somewhere. You know why? He did it because, what was it again? If you bury someone on a plot of land, you don't have to pay any taxes. Thank you. My wife in the corner over there. You no longer have to pay a property tax on the land if you bury someone there. And I'm like, what? You see what I'm saying? And what's the wild part is his cult follows him blindly. Like, they don't even see that. They're like, huh? What? They've been doing that since the very beginning. He can literally eat children and eat them in front of them, and these folks would be like, what? No, he's my president. He's still my president. Yo, this dude, there's no words. Remember that when, okay, folks, you remember, I don't know, he was doing a campaign run and he got an athlete, she was a skier or something like that, to speak for him, right? To talk about abortion and something like that. She was, typical long hair, blonde woman, blue eyes, whatever, came up on there and he brought her up on the stage. He tried to kiss her on the cheek and she did a whoop, a matrix. No, I'm here to talk about what I'm going to talk about, but you are a nasty motherfucker. Yo, he tried to give her a kiss on the cheek and she did the matrix on his ass. Yo, that is wild. That is so wild. Yeah, that's how you get down, man. That's who Trump is, man. But it's amazing that this is happening, man. It's amazing. Now, is it possible that he can still win the presidency? They even said that someone in jail can still run for president. I'm like, really? I heard that somewhere. I'm like, really? Someone in jail can still run for president? Really? I don't think in real life that it can happen, but they say technically the person can still run. I don't know how. If you're in jail, you're charged with something, and it doesn't look good for if Trump wins the presidency in the next 2 years, I'm telling you, it destroys all ideas of what the average American thinks about America. And I said this, especially with the January 6th committee. If there's no consequences or repercussions, the idea of America has totally changed forever. Not talking about the cult people following Trump. I'm talking about the regular everyday people that voted for the guy and was like, you know what, and maybe it's not that bad what he talking about. Let me just vote for him. And plus, I don't like government anyway, so I'm just going to do this as a protest vote. Yeah, put him in. Let's see what happens. Right? And now they're coming in there. A lot of people that they're going through. I forgot the name. It's called voting. I forgot the name of it. Where they regret their votes. But they regretted voting for the guy, right? And all the craziness that he's done. And now look at this, right? I'm like, fuck. And if this guy wins the presidency, America will be torn apart. So say goodbye to the United States of America, the beautiful experiment, as they say, that happened back in 1776, the birth date of America. It is over and forever. We'll be on a trajectory and a direction that will spiral this country into the depths of hell. That's my take, and that's honestly what it's at. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the traditional republicanism of the Republican Party. It has morphed into a white nationalist organization and they use Trump as their god. Crazy. It's so bad so that in the Wyoming primary, that's the next topic, Liz Cheney lost her primary in Wyoming because of the fact that she was a part of the January 6th committee and she wasn't going with the lie that Trump was talking about as far as the election being stolen. Because of that choice that she made, the Wyoming voters voted against her. I don't think she minds. I think even though she may have lost the local vote, I think that on a national level that it would catapult her to where people that are a part of the Republican Party wants it to go back to, I'm just saying the words that they choose, the previous way how the Republican Party handled themselves in the true spirit of what the Republican Party was doing for decades, since Reagan, so probably since Nixon, right? They want to go back. Then they might use Liz Cheney to be that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because Liz Cheney is no hero. And I see what's happening on the news. They are trying to turn her into a hero, saying, oh, Liz Cheney, she's doing such great things. She's standing up for the country and she's doing everything right against that criminal, that disgusting man, Trump. That's a true Republican, and we should give her an applause. And, they actually giving her applause. And they're saying a lot of different things. But keep in mind, Liz Cheney, remember, and I'll say this because I saw this tweet, she opposed the Voting Rights Act. She opposed minimum wage increase, the Equality Act, the Equal Rights Amendment, the George Floyd Act, BBB, Infrastructure Bill, Inflation Reduction Act that was just passed, the $35 insulin bill, the cap, Women's Health Protection Act, anti-gas price gouging bill, and she voted with Trump, as they say, 93% of the time. And that can all be verified if you don't believe in that. See what her policy, what she stood by for the past 4 years that Trump was in office. So she is no hero. She got to the point where Trump was going off to places, and the Republican Party and the people within the Republican Party were going into places that she did not want to follow. She went along with it for the longest, and then it came to a point where, and probably in January 6th, probably before that, but she didn't publicly mention it. But she's like, wait a second, where are we? What is happening? And as a citizen of these United States of America, she said, I cannot in good conscience go down this path. And she did it. She made those choices, and she lost the Wyoming primary. What does that say about the voters? See, I don't mind Marjorie Taylor Greene or Boebert. I don't mind what they say. I know they're saying it because they want to get votes within their small local area. But as I said before on the show, but what really gets me, that hits me to my core, what's really saddens me, what really it's a reality check. It's the voters that vote for craziness. She didn't vote herself in. She was talking all that craziness to her people within her district, and they voted for her. That is the scary part. That there's no logic, there's no reason, there's no honest conversation. Use the use of critical thinking to be like, okay, what can we do that's best for our community, right? That's what we're voting for. But no, they voted for insanity. That's the scary part. That's what the educational system did to its citizens. Now, did the educational system fail its citizens? Or in another perspective, did it succeed? Right? You don't want the people too smart, because then they'll figure out how to get you up out of there. You want them dumbed down enough where they can pull the cogs and the levers to keep the machine running, but not smart enough to figure out how they're being tricked. That's amazing, right? And that's what's the scary part. That you see this happening and they're winning in their district. It is what it is. They win in their district. But yeah, don't treat. Hey man, I appreciate Liz Cheney having her consciousness hit her real good over the head, and she made a choice to say, I'm not going to follow this. I give her that much credit. Shout out to Liz Cheney. She did that. But you know what? Really, I say the proof is in the pudding. It's in your actions, not your words. The whole time, what she's been doing in all these years, what she's been voting for, what she's been voting against. I'm not for that. Anne Heche, man. Unfortunately, Anne Heche, I have to say, R.I.P., rest in peace, Anne Heche. She died in a car crash, and she passed away last Friday. She was under the influence. The video came out. I think she was in I forgot the name of it. It's the small buggy. It's a small car. And she was just zooming through the neighborhood, and it caught fire. She hit a house and it caught fire, and there was a wall of smoke. She was burned considerably all over the body. And, the police was doing an investigation, but they stopped the investigation because, of course, Anne Heche died. I didn't know Anne Heche had so many demons. I didn't know Anne Heche had a problem with drinking or being intoxicated, whatever she was on, drugs, at her age. And it's amazing where I can see people or we can witness people being at the age that they're at, having so many demons to the point where they take their own life in the way that it happened. So yeah, R.I.P. to Anne Heche, man. And Marshawn Lynch, there was another car accident with Marshawn Lynch. He was in some kind of GTO, whatever, supercar, whatever, and the police found him with the wheels off, literally with the two front wheels off. I think the back wheels is flat, and he was passed out in the car. Yeah, man. He was arrested. There was video that came out. They pulled his ass right out because he was like, yo, what are you arresting me for? And obviously, you smell the liquor, and I'm not defending Marshawn Lynch. It's just sad that, that this happened. I'm like, yo, Marshawn, man, what's up, man? You got a lot of people that look up to you, man, and to have this on camera, it's terrible. I'm not co-signing it. It is what it is. When you get caught with bullshit, you get caught with bullshit. And it's upsetting that, Marshawn Lynch, wrecked someone else's car that he was driving and then, being intoxicated. Man, straighten yourself up, man, Marshawn. I'm saying this for me to you, Marshawn Lynch. Don't be Anne Heche, man. I don't want to see a brother dead. I don't want to see any human life extinguished before their time. Yeah. So COVID-19, we're dealing with this COVID-19. We're dealing with this polio in the water. Like, yo, can you create, polio? They said they found polio in the New York wastewater, and it suggests likely local circulation of the virus. And it could be spreading amongst unvaccinated people. That's crazy. Crazy. And they said one person suffered from paralysis in Rockland County. That's crazy. And we're dealing with monkeypox. Yo, man. We was just getting over COVID. Everybody COVID fatigue, and all of a sudden we got to deal with monkeypox. Oh, my God. I don't even, this world is crazy. Amongst all the other shit that we're dealing with, we got to deal with new diseases that are spreading, and polio that we had vaccinations for, and that's found in the wastewater, and then, madness. So look out for yourself, people. Look out for monkeypox and polio, and hopefully you took your shots and everything like that, and stay safe. In the Bronx, man, 10 suspects were seen on camera doing a brazen smash and grab at a jewelry store, man. They got away with like $1 million worth of jewels. It's messed up, man. It's crazy. You still got craziness happening in New York, man. 10, I saw the video footage. If you see it, look it up. 10 suspects in Bronx. Just all you got to do is throw in those commas, man. 10 suspects, Bronx jewelry heist. You'll see it. You'll see the video footage. And the initial thought of it is, we need more cops. We need more cops. We need more cops. We need more cops. Oh my God, we need more cops. We need more cops. The city's going crazy. Yes. All right. I understand. I get it. I get the conversation. I get why people were reacting the same. We need more cops. And yeah, cops are useful to a certain degree. But what I always say is, if you can provide options for people where you can give them a job, you can educate them in new skills for the 21st century, you provide them the ability to have a quality life. I'm not saying give government handouts. I'm saying start programs where they become educated, work a job, and whether they can start a career in the job of their choice or create their own business. You will not see people running into jewelry stores stealing jewelry. Cops are only it's only a short-term solution to the problem. If you do not deal with poverty in the right way, you will always have people you always gonna have stick-up kids. You always gonna have stick-up kids. You could put more cops on the street, and all you're doing is just shuffling and corralling more black and brown people into jails. That don't solve the problem, because poverty still exists. When you get at, and you know how I know this works? Go to any mid-level, upper middle class neighborhood, or rich neighborhood, they have cops in those particular neighborhoods. You must have cops in it. It's the government mandate. If you for lack of a better word, it's standard to have precincts so it covers specific areas. They have to cover poor neighborhoods. They have to cover rich neighborhoods, and they have to cover middle class neighborhoods. You have to cover it all in case crime happens, right? But crime doesn't happen in rich neighborhoods because you see it all the time, man. You see them all the time, bored as motherfucking hell, twiddling their thumbs, talking about everything else but their jobs, and then all of a sudden, the stereotype, getting coffee and donuts because they're trying to stay awake and eat, right? You see it though. You see cops bored as hell, and I've been in upper middle class neighborhoods. I've been in rich neighborhoods. The cops do, but they chilling. It's like, hey, we got to do this, and they making good money. But of course, where the action is poor neighborhoods. That's where that's where you cut your teeth to be a top notch cop. Right, so the initial reaction is we need more police, and that's what works for the system. But really, it doesn't help the people that are experiencing poverty. Since the whole George Floyd thing, they say they were going to do this. Companies and Fortune 500 companies are going to say do this and do that. The city was like, we're going to change things. Blah blah. What have they done? They haven't done anything that they talked about since George Floyd moved. The whole movement and the BLM movement in support of George. Nothing came into fruition. It stayed the same. They talked a good game, but then they just waited it out, and then of course crime happens, and then what do they say? They say, well, we need more cops, and it goes right back to the same thing. And I would challenge any politician, you haven't changed anything. You didn't enact anything that you said that you were going to do to change the conditions of the neighborhood. That a lot of people in the movement, a lot of protesters were talking about on TV and on radio. A lot of people were saying, hey, we need this. And everybody was getting the yes, sure, we'll do that. And then 2 years, 3 years later, nothing. And you know what happens? You have 10 people breaking into a jewelry store in the Bronx, and then the news is going to come down to the people that live in the neighborhood and stick a mic in their face and then say, hey, what do you think about this? And people going to be like, oh, it's terrible. It's awful. And what they're waiting for is, we need more cops. That's what they're waiting for, those magic words. So they could throw it in the face of those quote unquote leftist people that really don't know what they're talking about. Defund the police. We want to fund the police. We want to give them more equipment, more personnel, more cars. We want to militarize them. So we're not really dealing with the problem. Maybe that was not the point in the first place. Understand what I'm saying? And this kind of leads into correctional officers, man. The correctional officers of color actually won a lawsuit against the prison that they worked in that was holding the racist criminal ex-officer Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin, everybody knows who he killed George Floyd. They won a lawsuit for discrimination. They won $1.5 million is going to be distributed amongst all those correctional officers that felt they were being treated unfairly. It involves Steve Leiden, the then superintendent of the Ramsey County Adult Detention Center. The Ramsey County Adult Detention Center. One black CEO was saying that he was told not to pat down Derek Chauvin, even though it was his duty to process all high-profile inmates. Steve Leiden, to the superintendent, it was like, no, you can't pat him down. He kept those correctional officers of quote unquote, for the sake of argument, of color from guarding Derek Chauvin. Not only that, the correctional officers actually caught on film that there were white CEOs that went to console Derek Chauvin, rub him on his back, and gave him a cell phone to make a phone call. That's crazy. When the story broke, the superintendent, he got demoted, and when the case dropped. That's white supremacy protecting white supremacy. Ain't that crazy? And you want to see another situation where white supremacy protects agents of white supremacy. You have the Mississippi grand jury that declined to indict the woman Carolyn Bryant Donham, who allegedly is the alleged person who lied on Emmett Till that got this young brother killed 70 years ago. They said the grand jury said there wasn't enough evidence to indict her on the charges of kidnapping and manslaughter after 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses. That's white supremacy protecting white supremacy. Right? They brought in Cosby, right? He was old and feeble and infirmed, right? Losing it, and they still took his ass to jail. Even though the alleged situation that happened the second time 40, 50 years ago, and all you got is a person's word, right? Again, this is in no way supporting Bill Cosby. He's a dirtbag. But I'm saying at the same time, you got to have proper evidence if you're going to convict someone of a crime and they're going to spend the remainder of the last remaining years on this planet, right? They even locked up Nazis that were well into their 80s and 90s. They locked them up. He was like, whoa, wait a second. You killed some Jews. Doesn't matter. Nobody was feeling, some type of way because these people were old. But yet this woman, Carolyn Bryant Donham, there wasn't enough evidence to indict her. They probably said, oh my God, she's an old lady. What is she going to do? She lacks oxygen. She needs the tubes in her nose. Oh my God. We can't convict her. It's a crime. I would feel terrible. She looks like my grandmother. That's white supremacy protecting white supremacy. The same thing with Derek Chauvin getting rubbed on the back. And here's a phone. Call whoever you need to call, to the point where they actually found this woman, Carolyn Bryant Donham. And the grand jury was like, yeah, regardless of all the evidence, we're not going to indict. Yeah, that's what we got to deal with, folks. That's madness. Anyway, you got my feelings on this thing. I think that's the show, man. That's the show. I wish there was more to give, but that's all I have to share with you guys. I was going to share my readings of that new 21st century crime bill that Biden was doing, but I didn't get to it yet. I'm sorry. I can't do everything. I try. I just can't do everything. You can't be Superman. You can't be Superwoman. All I'm saying is I will get that on the list, on the top of the list tomorrow. Go over it, and we'll talk about it. All right, folks. I do appreciate you listening to me. Thank you for tuning in. This is GCOM Radio. I'm your host, Nova Phoenix. I'll see you guys next week, and I'll try my best to get you in that Wednesday show. But stick with me, man. I'm human. Sometimes things happen, and if I don't get it, my apologies, my deepest apologies. I want to get you something. I want to go until this thing is 500 shows in the bag, man. That's 500 shows. I'm all with it. I want to be like Joe Rogan. He's got like 1,500 under his belt. They were praising Joe Rogan too. They were talking about on social media. It was like, how did Joe Rogan get 1 billion streams last year? He did a lot of shows. And he represents the average man, right? So they say. And he does things and invites people on the show to talk about a lot of different things that people talk about, and they relate to Joe Rogan. That's amazing. Fantastic. I hope you guys relate to me, get some things that are specific to my life, my people, my community, being an American citizen, being a global citizen, me being a founder trying to get the company rocking and rolling. Oh yeah, speaking of that, your man Adam Newman, he got money from Andreessen Horowitz, right? He got $350 million. Unbelievable. These are the things I'm going to talk about. But anyway, I digress. Thank you guys for listening to me on the show. I'll see you guys next week. Peace, love, and hair grease. And I'm out.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.